Okay, so like I said at the end of the last video, so far we've been dealing with just raw data. Not data that's been put into groups, just flat out raw data. So now we're going to look at how to find the standard deviation as well as the variance for grouped data. And we'll also review how to find the mean for group data like we did in section 2.3. So this one we really don't have a definition for. We just kind of jump right into it. We've been dealing with variance and standard deviation and all that jazz. So let's just jump in with a formula. So S squared is going to equal the sum of the squared deviations times their frequency divided by n minus 1. And of course, that means that S is equal to the square root of S squared. Okay, now let's remember what some of these things mean. So X is our class midpoint. So remember, group data means you have a frequency distribution. X bar is our grouped mean. Which we covered in section 2.3. F is the class frequency. My handwriting is atrocious. And then N is equal to nothing more than the sum of the frequencies. Okay, so now that we have remembered what everything is, and I'll again just remind you of this formula for grouped mean. It's the sum of X times F over N. Again, X is the midpoint, F is the frequency, N is the sum of the frequencies. So, now that we know what everything is, let's see an example, shall we? So, for this section, this will be example number, I think 5? Yeah, example number 5. Okay. That's what we want. Right there. Insert screen clip. Okay, so just like with the others, our first step is we need to get the mean. And in the problem, it actually tells us that. It says the frequency distribution below shows the results of a survey in which 930 adults, there's our N right there, 930, N is 930, were asked how much they spend in preparation for personal travel each year. Estimate the sample mean and sample standard deviation. Okay, well, we need to get the mean, so we need to get X times F. Well, before we do that, we need to get X. We need to get the midpoint. So X, 0 to 99, our midpoint would be 49.5. Remember, this is exactly in the middle. And if I go from 0 to 100, 100 to 200, it looks like they're counting by hundreds. So that'll make the rest of these midpoints a bit easier. 149.5, 249.5, 349.5, 449.5. Okay, then I need to do x times f. Okay, so let me see if I can do it this way. There we go. If I scroll over, we can see both. Sweetness. Okay. So we're going to have x times f. So 49.5 times 380. 18,810. 149.5. I don't want that there. Go away. Delete. Over here. 149.5 times 230. I'm just going to do all my calculating on my calculator right quick. That way I can just copy them in. There we go. Excuse me. Okay. So back over here we have 34,385. We have 52,395. 17,475. And 26,970. Okay, so now I need to get the sum of these. Sum of the XFs. I add those up. Oh, delete this. Come on now. Delete. Over here. Plus. 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 This is 150,035. Okay, so now for our mean. Okay, why is this not letting me scoot over? Scoot over. There we go. So it says estimate the sample mean. So the sample mean equals x bar, which is equal to the sum of x times f over n, which we said was 150,035 divided by 930. Okay, what is that going to get us? $161.33. Okay, so there is our sample mean. We've estimated that one. Now we need to estimate the sample standard deviation. This is the one that's going to take a good bit of work because you got to remember we have to do x minus the mean each and every time, square that, and times it by the frequency. So what I'm going to do, put my calculator to the side, let's set up a table that can help us do that rather than growing this one out here. Well, I mean, I guess I could. Nah, I'm going to do it over here. So I'm going to do down here x minus x bar. And we're going to do that for each of these. So I'm going to do the calculator stuff first where I can see it all. And then you go from there. So 49. I don't want that there. Go away. Come here, calculator. 49.5 minus that value. Negative 11.83. Okay? And then I need to square that. X minus x bar squared. So square that answer. It's going to be 12,505.5. And then I need to times that by the frequency. So this one's got quite a bit of work to it. What was our frequency on this one? The frequency was, for this first class, the frequency was 380. So times 380. That's a big number. I want the whole number. Okay, so $4,752,086.95. Notice how I'm using the full numbers at each and every step. I'm not rounding anything. I don't want to round anything until my final answer. Then I'll start rounding stuff. Until then, we're using the full numbers. That's just a personal preference. I don't like rounding until the very end. Okay. So now, I need to do the same thing, but now for the 145 midpoint. So this is going to be negative 11.83 is my x minus x bar. Square it, I get 139.901. And then I times it by the frequency. So times that frequency, without me having to do a bunch of scrolling, is 230. It's going to be 32,177.1. Okay. Then I go to the next class. So that's the one that's going to be 249.5 minus my mean. Where did the mean go? Up there. 88.17. I'll square that. 7,774.31. I'll times it by its frequency. So that frequency was 210. That's going to be a big number, then I need to see the whole thing. So 1,632,604.93. Okay, this one's going to be 188.17. And I'm going to go and do the next one, 288.17. Okay, so come here, add a 1 in front. It's going to be 35,408. 0.7. And then I'm going to times it by its frequency. 50. I need that whole number. It's going to be 1,770,435.89. And then almost there. Change this one to a 288. So that squared is 83,043.1. If I times it by its frequency of 60, it's going to be 4,982,587.58. These are some ugly numbers. Yes, I realize that. Very, very, very ugly. But the good news is we are almost done because our numerator is the sum of this last column. So if I add up all of these values, I keep doing that. I keep trying to bounce back and forth, and it hadn't worked yet. Maybe one day it will. Maybe one day the computer can read my mind. But that day is not today. Need to go get that one. Plus. I need the 32,000 one somewhere up here. That one. Plus. And then I need the 4 million one all the way up here. It's going to be an even bigger number. Okay, so 13,169,892.47. Okay, so if I think of the formula for what I'm doing, S squared, which I don't want S squared, I want S, not S squared, I want S. But S squared will be easier at first. X minus X bar squared times F divided by N minus 1. So that's going to be this whole 13,169,892.47 divided by 930 minus 1, so 929. Okay, let's see what that gets us on the calculator. Divided by 929. 14,176.4. Now we need to do our sample standard deviation. Sample standard deviation is S, which is simply the square root of S squared, which is the square root of this 14,000 number. Approximately. And now we go to our calculator for the final step. Hooray! $119, and I like to see that final decimal, so 6 cents. 119.06. We got it. Yay! Woo. Okay, whew, that was intense, but we made it. So I do like to do a recap on these, just to put everything in one nice, neat sentence. An estimate for the sample mean is $161.33 per year, with an estimated standard deviation of $119.06. Okay, so there is our grouped mean with a grouped variance and a grouped standard deviation. We survived it. Praise the Lord. Okay, in our next video, it'll be the last video of this section, we're going to look at the coefficient of variation. So stay tuned.